Now, we are all aware that the global demand for energy is ever increasing. Now, there are reasons behind it. There is increasing population and then the economic growth of the countries across the world. This is resulting in an increased demand of energy, and with this increased demand, there are new challenges which are coming up. So today we have the challenge of depleting conventional resources of energy. We have a challenge of concentration of these conventional resources of energy in certain countries and resulting in price volatility. There is a challenge of providing energy to all. We still have hundreds and millions of people who do not have access to energy. And then there is a challenge towards the environment. As we all are aware, the major energy demand of the world is still being fueled by the fossil fuels, and these are great emittent of greenhouse gas. This results in global warming, so there's a challenge towards protecting our environment. But then, as I say, where there are challenges, you also have opportunities. And as per the experts, if our goal and our vision is towards providing energy to all, if our vision is towards energy efficiency, if our vision is towards increasing the standards of living of people and having less of carbon footprints, then the need of the hour is to move towards a greener growth of energy. And this will require shunning away of the business as usual approach which we have. It requires a new thinking, a new approach, new systems. Basically, if you can put it this way, it requires a transformation, a transition, and the way we generate, the way we consume, the way we deliver energy. And OECD and IEA are taking efforts towards it. We have the former director of IEA who is going to be addressing us in the inaugural session. Further, as per the experts, if we do not act now, it is going to be creating grave consequences for us in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now draw your attention, please, that we are now being joined by our Honorable Chief Guest, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, Ms. Pannabakka Lakshmi. Please join me in extending her a very hearty welcome in this inaugural session. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again on behalf of the Energy Environment Foundation, I welcome all the delegates who have joined us in the 3rd World Petrocoal Congress. Thank you all for joining us. And as you all must be aware, the E2 Foundation, that is the Energy Environment Foundation, is a not-for-profit organization which has been working towards creating a clean, green, and an energy-efficient environment. And it is working towards developing of the technologies which can bring about this change. And this conference, ladies and gentlemen, is a step towards that direction. To address these challenges which we are talking about and the issues, and also approach the opportunities as we talk about fostering the fossil fuels towards a greener growth, ladies and gentlemen, it has been realized and recognized by the experts that the need of the hour is to create a conducive environment for the investments, to create a conducive environment towards building energy infrastructure, towards global collaborations, towards cooperations, towards energy transfer. And it is being realized that whatever decisions which we are going to be taking today and policy decisions which we are going to be taking today is going to be having an effect towards the energy security for the future. In that regard, we are extremely thankful to the Honorable Minister for joining us today, for her guidance, and her message is definitely going to be setting the tone and the direction for our further discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I now invite our Honorable Chief Guest, the Honorable Minister of State, Ms. Pannabakka Lakshmi, here to join us on the dais. Would also request our other distinguished speakers of the inaugural session to kindly join us here on the dais. We have Mr. Anil Razdan, the former Secretary PAR, Mr. Nobu Tanaka, former Executive Director of IEA, and Mr. Shibu Gadima, President and CEO of Lonto Coal. Also invite Dr. Anil Garg, President of the World Petrocoal Congress. And ladies and gentlemen, as many of you must be aware, today is Basant Panchami, so we extend our heartfelt feelings to all our distinguished dignitaries on the dais by according them a floral welcome, first welcoming our Honorable Minister of State by presenting these bouquets. And these colors and fragrance of spring communicate a message of a heartiest welcome from all present here to the Honorable Minister. Also welcoming and thanking Mr. Anil Razdan, the Chairman Steering Committee, who is also the Chairman of the Energy and Environment Foundation. He's been guiding the Congress and he's the former Secretary of Power. Welcome to you, sir. Now, this is a platform, as we are talking about, towards global collaborations and cooperation. So we thank Mr. Nobu Tanaka, the former Executive Director of IEA and Global Associate for Energy Security and Sustainability, the Institute of Energy Economics, joining us. Also conveying our heartfelt feelings to Mr. Shibu Gadima, President and CEO of Lonto Coal, for joining us. And welcoming Dr. Anil Garg, President of the World Petrocoal Congress. And before we start with our discussions and deliberations for the auspicious beginning of our discussions, we light this lamp of knowledge and wisdom and also invoke the blessings of the Almighty with Ganesh Vandana and Saraswati Vandana. So may I request the Honorable Minister to kindly light the lamp, marking the auspicious beginning of this Congress. Request our distinguished dignitaries also to kindly join in the auspicious act.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryashu Sarvada Devi Saraswati Bhavani Devi Saraswati Bhavani Vishwajanani Parama Vidya Pradayini Devi Saraswati Bhavani Veda Vedanta Tantra Mantra Antana Pavata Veda Vedanta Tantra Mantra Antana Pavata Pujata Vahi Shri Charana Suranara Muni Devi Saraswati Bhavani Antara Kamala Para Baithu Narayani Bajao Madhura Veena Veena Pani Jaya Bhagavati Bharati Kripa Kije Dije Bhakati Jaya Bhagavati Bharati Kripa Kije Dije Bhakati Tumi Mata Gyan Tumi Ho Nada Brahma Sanatani Devi Saraswati Bhavani Vishwajanani Parama Vidya Pradayini Devi Saraswati Devi Saraswati Devi Saraswati Bhavani
Thank you. So that's the prayer to the Almighty to give us power and energy to carry on our work with efficiency and sincerity. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I invite the Chairman Steering Committee and the Chairman of the Energy and Environment Foundation, Mr. Anil Razdan, who has vast expanse of knowledge and experience being the former Secretary of Power. He has been enriching the sector, guiding the sector, and sharing his knowledge and experience. And he's also been the former Independent Director of Bharat Electronics, HPCL, part-time Director of ONGC, GAIL India Limited, and Additional Director of Indian Oil. I would like to request and invite him for his welcome address now.
A very good morning to all the distinguished delegates. Honorable Minister, with whose presence we are blessed today, to the third World Petro Coal Congress, my distinguished friends, Mr. Tanaka and Mr. Kagadima, as well as Dr. Anil Garg and other participants. It is indeed our pleasure to welcome you to the third Petro Coal Congress, which is a unique congress in the sense that it combines and tries to synthesize the gains from the petroleum as well as the coal industry in India, which are two major fuels of any energy sector. We have been honored by repeated cooperation from the IEA, from South Africa, Australia, a number of other countries. And the whole objective is that we get experts to come and speak and discuss global issues, problems which are facing both sectors, new developments, new issues, new technologies which could be coming into the future. As you know, these two fuels are absolutely critical and very critical, particularly for developing countries and those countries which are, do not have enough fuel resources of their own. So they are very highly dependent on both these fuels for their energy needs. And coal, particularly in India, is powering most of our power generation, whereas for petroleum products, we import almost 80% of our fuel requirements. But we are also very keen that people come, entrepreneurs come and invest in this part of the world because the demand is extremely robust. We are looking at new developments in shale gas, new developments in hydrogen. We only hope that with all the experts gathered here, we shall try and attain the highest levels of efficiency in use of these fuels and also capture and probably utilize as soon as we can, if not fix, some of the gases which have been causing concern to the climatologists. We are really grateful that the Honorable Minister of State has agreed to be with us at this inaugural session despite a very busy schedule just before Parliament begins. We will also be honoring 6 senior colleagues probably today. We hope that these honors which this body gives will spur them to greater glory in the years to come. They've been contributing tirelessly, almost each one of them for the last 30 to 40 years in these sectors. And we only hope that by these awards, we are only acknowledging their massive contributions which they have been making. The Honorable Union Minister of Coal was to be with us today, but owing to pressing engagements at the last minute, he has not been able to join us, but he sends us his greetings and best wishes for this conference. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, energy security, we all know, has been now a global policy issue, and especially now since the world faced the first oil crisis in 1973. And it was in 1974 that the IEA was formed, and this focuses on 3 E's of the effectual energy policy. It focuses towards energy security, economic development, and environmental protection. And it has been working closely with its members. It has been advising. It is basically working as a policy advisor to its member countries, and also working closely with its non-members, such as India, China, and Russia. So today, as we address and we talk about synergizing efforts towards green energy, we now invite the views of former Executive Director of IEA, Mr. Nobu Tanaka, who is also the Global Associate for Energy Security and Sustainability, the Institute of Energy Economics, Japan. Inviting Mr. Nobu Tanaka.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate Dr. Anil Garg, the president of WPACC, as well as Anil Razdan, my very good friend when I was executive director of the International Energy Agency. And also I thank you very much for all of you and distinguished guests for me to say a small words about current energy situation. Last year, in the end of the last year, the World Energy Outlook of the IEA was revealed. And the big message there is that new revolution is happening in the energy sector, especially in the United States or North America. That is called shale revolution. And shale gas production in the United States is increasing dramatically, not only gas, but to the oil. So US will be the largest oil producer in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, in 2020. This has huge impact, not only the economic impact to the US. Of course, with cheap gas and cheap oil, US economy will be revitalized dramatically. They are inviting back the investment of chemical industry using cheap gas as an input, and also manufacturing sector as well, using the cheap electricity from gas. So this creates the huge industrial advantage to the United States. 60% of the oil, 60% of the trade deficit of the United States comes from oil importation. If oil import will be dramatically decreased in the US, this situation for the United States is enormous. So this is definitely the US is winning in this game. While compared to the other countries, we suffer. For example, Japan, after Fukushima, we have serious problem of restarting nuclear power plant. Only 2 of them are now running. And that delays and delays may create huge deficit in trade, but not only trade, but it may go into the current account. And then if something happens in the Strait of Hormuz, Japanese economy will in disaster. So I'm cautioning, as a former executive director, we must prepare for the emergency. And this kind of thing is true to everybody now. And this is what the implication of the shale revolution too, because now the United States no longer needs to import oil from Middle East. What does this mean? Will United States reduce the commitment of the peace in the Middle East or free navigation of the Strait of Hormuz? Maybe not, but still they may require the much more commitment from so-called free riders of free trade of oil from Middle East to Asia, including China, India, ASEAN countries, Japan, and Korea. We have to think about collectively or individually how to deal with kind of energy security of the future in the shorter term and in the longer term. This is the really tough challenge. We have never faced this before. And now IEA giving us lots of interesting hint what we have to do. Energy security by storage, stockpiles of oil is one thing. But not only that, we have to move on to the more security of the gas supply in the future, or even electricity. Now the future of the energy is coming from electricity. More sustainable source of renewables or nuclear, together with gas, coal, and mix of electricity or stable supply of electricity is the future of the energy security. Are we ready to work on that? By connecting grid lines with our neighbors, just like Europeans do? Or can we connect our pipelines with our neighbors, just as Europeans do? And this kind of notion of comprehensive energy security is our agenda for the future. We have to be very serious. We have to work together. We have to think about the innovative way of doing business in the future. And Fatih Birol, the famous chief economist of the IEA, tells us in Japan that this game, there are losers and winners and the losers. Who are the winners? They are those individuals, companies, organizations, or nation states who understand the change or the shift of the energy world in the future. Those who are the losers do not understand the change. Which part of the world shall we join? This is a challenge for the people here today, and let's think about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for presenting your views towards energy security. And as he said, with depleting conventional resources of energy and with the Fukushima disaster case, nuclear has been kept on a back burner and shale gas seems to be more promising now. So we are going to be also talking about, in our sessions, talking about the unconventional hydrocarbons, shale gas, CBM and CMM also. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we invite the industry perspective, and for this I would like to request the President and CEO of Lonto Coal, which is a rapidly growing mining company of anthracite, coking and thermal coal, with reserves and resources in excess of 7.8 billion tons across coal fields in South Africa, Zimbabwe and Mozambique. Lonto Coal is also developing critical logistics infrastructure which will ensure successful route-to-market access with an export capacity of 18 million tons per annum by 2015. They have also aggressive plans for India, looking into the demand fundamentals in India. So to know more about it and about their views on the demand supply, would like to invite Mr. Sipho Gadima, President and CEO of Lonto Coal.
Namaste, Honorable Minister and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and honor indeed to be back here in India and back in New Delhi at this very important conference that I believe that it is critical in taking the world forward as it looks at resolving the challenges that we can no longer afford to postpone to be addressed, but that is an emergency. The area of energy to power the new industrial revolution is something that we can no longer afford to postpone or continue to talk about. And I believe that this conference over the next 3 days will set that platform to enable us that the deliberations that come from here will be used by the decision makers in government, particularly the regulators, by the business community, industrialists, and as well as the academia. And I think it's very important that this conference, as it brings all of these spheres together to deliberate and look at how will we make this planet a better place to live. It is therefore that I'm encouraged and I'm honored to be here. I would just like to really maybe throw in a few thoughts. As we'll be spending the day, there will be deliberations, and I'll most certainly expand on some of the thoughts that I'll sharing in later sessions. I'd like you to imagine that the things that today we take for granted, particularly those of us who maybe are more privileged. Energy, we were able to fly overnight to India. We required energy for that in the form of oil. Stay in a hotel. There is running water that had to be purified because there is energy. The lights were working. We were able to go online and communicate with the world because we have power or we have energy. But it is also worth to note that of the 7 billion people that are on this planet, approximately 2 billion people do not have that privilege. And it is therefore incumbent upon us, those that are in decision-making positions, in whatever sphere that we are, that we have to work together to ensure that we can be able to resolve the energy challenge. And as we see the energy demand increase, it is also worth noting that as much as in the last 3 years since the financial crisis, we've not had so much about substitution of fossil fuels with renewables and greener energy sources. And in fact, we are seeing an increase in the use and the demand of fossil fuels. One of the key challenges that the world faces is that of carbon emissions. And personally, I am glad that we have moved away from the debate about substitution of fossil fuels. But I believe that we need to put more emphasis on how the continued use of fossil fuels can be in an environmentally sustainable manner. And one of the things that I believe that we need to look at is how do we make the business of environment sustainability profitable. I give an example. There is no city anywhere in the world whereby they would not clean up, garbage. Every city will have a refuse collection and management and clean up. And I believe that the time has come because that is a business that is profitable to do so, to clean up the city. When it comes to the area of carbon emissions and environmental sustainability, it is something that we really need to pay particular attention to. And I believe that there needs to be more funding into carbon capture or carbon sequestration and storage. There are a number of initiatives. There are 10 that I know of globally, but they have not yet reached a scale which really is commercially viable. And I hope that over the next 3 days, these are some of the things that would be looked at by the experts that are in this room. And then from this place, move on to say, what are we going to be doing in our respective fields to ensure that we take the energy challenge and we take advantage of the opportunities that are presented by energy demand. Now, one of the things that I believe sometimes is we need to be open about is that we normally work in silos. So you find that the industry have got their own silo, they've got their own governance, profit motives, and everything else that they work in. The regulators and the legislators, on the one hand, they have got their own way of doing things. And in the middle, you'll find that the scientists also are somewhere in there where they write many, many reports. And in fact, in preparation for this conference, I was very much astounded to see the amount of research material that is out there over the last 30 years, projecting what the energy demand will be up to 2050. And what are some of the things that can be done? And it appears that most of those reports by scientists have remained but just that, reports. There hasn't been action, and I believe that that is resultant from the various silos that we all work in. And this conference, I believe that it is starting to open up the way to bring all of these sectors together. And if there was a message that I would like to emphasize this morning to you, would be that let us take this opportunity, and particularly from this conference, of ensuring that we work together in a coherent manner so that the world can be a better place. Because each and every one of us that are here, we are duty bound to ensure that we do our bit and we use the expertise that we've been blessed with to ensure that we can take this planet to make it a better place. I thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your message. And ladies and gentlemen, as he said, that the fossil fuels will continue to play a very important role. There is no substitute for that, but we just have to look into technologies which is going to be driving it more towards the greener growth. And that has been reflected in the background paper, a study which has been done by our knowledge partners, EMPI, which we would now like to release. Would like to request the Honorable Minister to kindly release the knowledge paper which has been prepared by EMPI, and would like to invite Mr. Gurnam Saran, the President of EMPI, also Mr. Pankaj Saran, the CEO of Gujarat Vittal Innovation City and Vice President Strategic Initiatives of EMPI, to kindly join us. And if I can request also the team of EMPI who have done the study and research to join as we release the background papers. If I can request the background papers to be brought in for the release. So this presents the entire demand and supply scenario at present as it is, and also in the future by 2050. It talks about why fossil fuels, how do we move into driving a greener growth from these fossil fuels, the technologies, and the way forward. Thank you to the Honorable Minister. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the most awaited moment of this inaugural ceremony, inaugural session. That is the presentation of the Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Awards for the year 2013. Now, these awards are to reward, recognize, and appreciate individuals who have been contributing immensely towards the growth of the energy sector, and it recognizes their excellence, their innovations, their creativity, and also the best practices which they have been adopting. The organizers believe that these awards are going to be serving as a recognition and a tribute to the winners' professionalism and to their excellence. Now, these awards are the third in a row, and over the years it has been the efforts of the organizers to make these as benchmark. There have been very eminent personalities from the energy sector, the wizards, basically the moving encyclopedias of the energy world, who have been awarded in the past. Just to apprise the House of the past accomplishers, In 2011, the Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Award in the petroleum sector was conferred to Shri S.K. Manglik, former Chairman and Managing Director, ONGC. In 2012, there were two accomplishers, Shri S.C. Tripathi, former Secretary to the Government of India, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and Dr. Jean-Georges Malcor, President and CEO of CGG Veritas, France. In the coal sector, in 2011, the award was conferred to Padma Bhushan Shri G.L. Tandon, former Chairman and Managing Director, Coal India Limited, who is considered as a giant of the mining industry. And in 2012, again we had two awardees, Dr. M.P. Narayanan, former Chairman, Coal India Limited, and Mr. Shibu Gadima, who's present with us, the President and CEO of Lonto Coal Limited, South Africa. In the gas sector, in 2011, the award was conferred to Shri Suresh Mathur, former Managing Director and CEO of Petronet LNG Limited. And in 2012, the Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Award in the gas sector was conferred to Dr. A.K. Balyan, the Managing Director and CEO of Petronet LNG Limited. He's present with us, the most deserving achiever. And so congratulating to all the achievers of the past who are present with us. Thank you to all of them also for joining us today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce the awards for the year 2013. I would like to request the Honourable Minister to kindly do the honour of presenting these awards, and would like to request the other dignitaries also to join. Request the Honourable Minister to kindly be in front of the backdrop as we present these awards. So, ladies and gentlemen, we first have in the petroleum sector. And in the petroleum sector, this year there are two achievers. In no order of priority, in random order, the first achiever, the first winner, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Ranbir Singh Batola, Chairman, Indian Oil Corporation Limited. Mr. Batola has vast and varied experience, having started his career in banking sector, where he worked for almost 8 years, and finally joining the oil sector in 1991, where over the last 20 years he has gained deep insights into various facets of the oil industry. From 91 onwards, in ONGC, he shoulders various responsibilities, some of which included appraisal and evaluation of the prestigious Mumbai High redevelopment scheme, implementation of ONGC first ERP and IT project, and he has been now guiding the Indian Oil. In 2011, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Batola joined as the chairman of Indian Oil Corporation, India's Maharatna PSU, and a Fortune 500 company. At Indian Oil, Mr. Batola is spearheading an enterprise-wide exercise aimed at strengthening internal systems by optimizing the supply chain and achieving zero process interruption. Mr. Batola is a visionary leader. He took a number of innovative decisions that have added value to the company. And today, the Energy and Environment Foundation recognizes his excellent contribution in the petroleum sector and confers him the Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Award for the year 2013 in the petroleum sector. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next achiever, the next winner in the petroleum sector, Shri S.K. Srivastava, Chairman and Managing Director, Oil India Limited. He has taken over as Chairman and Managing Director, Oil India Limited. He has 35 years experience in the upstream sector, out of which over 3 decades in OIL. Before joining as CMD of Oil, Shri Srivastava was holding the position of Directorate General of Hydrocarbons, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India. As DGDDH, he was heading oil and gas and CBM exploration, development and production related functions on behalf of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Mr. Srivastava believes in quality, transparency, and speed in decision making and its operation. He has an excellent blend of experience and expertise in the oil and gas exploration, drilling, production, national and international exploration, project management, and in the upstream oil and gas regulation. Energy and Environment Foundation confers him today the Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellence Award 2013 in the petroleum sector. And now from the petroleum, we have in the coal sector. Ladies and gentlemen, in the coal sector, this year we have 3 deserving achievers. Again, in no order of priority, the first achiever, ladies and gentlemen, Shri Alok Purty, IAS and former Secretary, Ministry of Coal, Government of India. Mr. Purty was a member secretary to the Kelkar committee set up by the Ministry of Defence to suggest modification to defence acquisitions. He has also served as consultant to WHO and UNICEF. Mr. Purty superannuated as Secretary, Ministry of Coal, Government of India in 2012 and served as advisor to the Coal Ministry till recent times. During his tenure as Secretary, Ministry of Coal, he took a number of initiatives related to policies and encouraged new clean coal technologies in India's coal sector. He was also instrumental for the huge success to the public offering of Coal India. The international cooperation was also encouraged for providing energy security to the country. The coal sector was encouraged to lead through excellence and initiative. And Energy and Environment Foundation confers him today the E2 Foundation Global Excellence Awards for the year 2013 in the coal sector. In the coal sector, ladies and gentlemen, the next achiever, Shri S. Narsingh Rao, IAS Chairman, Coal India Limited. We have not been joined by him, but we have the presence of Mr. V.K. Tiwari, the General Manager, who is going to be receiving the award on his behalf. But congratulating Mr. S. Narsingh Rao, the Chairman, Coal India Limited, the largest coal-producing company in the world. And under his dynamic leadership, Coal India Limited has strengthened state-of-the-art satellite surveillance to monitor land reclamation and restoration for Allopensacs projects. Mr. Rao has also intensified Clean and Green program with massive plantation of more than 75 million trees. Ladies and gentlemen, the next Global Excellence Awards 2013 in the coal sector is now being conferred to Shri H.M. Nerurkar, the Managing Director, Tata Steel Limited. We have not been joined by him, but we have the honor of being joined by Mr. Harsh Sachdev, Managing Director, S&T Mining Company Private Limited, who is going to be receiving the award on behalf of Mr. Nerurkar. Mr. Nerurkar has over 35 years of experience in steel industry in various functions. Mr. Nerurkar is a unique motivational leader with capabilities beyond compare. And the next award is in the gas sector. E2 Foundation feels proud to confer the prestigious award to Shri B.C. Tripathi, Chairman and Managing Director of GAIL India Limited. If I can request Mr. S. Venkataraman to kindly receive the award on his behalf. Mr. Tripathi has demonstrated excellence through a number of innovative ideas that have added value to the company. He is a recipient of a large number of national and international awards, and under the visionary leadership of Mr. Tripathi, now GAIL has been ranked Asia's #1 gas utility company and second in the gas utility globally. Congratulations to all the achievers, and thank you to the Honorable Minister. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we have been talking about, as we talk about this new thinking, new approach, it's going to be creating a conducive environment, revisiting our policies and regulatory framework. So we would now like to request the Honorable Minister for her address, as it's going to be guiding us. Her message is going to be setting the tone and the direction of our further discussions. Inviting the Honorable Minister.
Very good morning, all of you. Sri Anil Rajdan, former Secretary, Power, Government of India, Chairman, Steering Committee, WPCC. Mr. Sipho Kadima, President and CEO, Lonta Coal Limited, South Africa. Mr. Nabo Tanka, former ED and Global Associate for Energy Security and Sustainability, the Institute of Energy Economics, Japan. Dr. Anil K. Garg, President, World Petro Coal Congress. Sri R.S. Batola, CMD, IOCL. Sri S.K. Srivastava, CMD, Oil India Limited. Distinguished guests, delegates, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to be here today for the third International Conference of World Petro Coal Congress, which has taken the most relevant theme for this occasion as fossil fuels for greener growth, challenges and opportunities. Energy security is a key concern in India today. As a result of increasing population, economic activity and rising income levels, the requirement of energy is growing. The high level of economic growth is likely to have a strong impact on the infrastructure and energy consumption levels in the country. The primary energy consumption in India is dominated by coal and hydrocarbons, with less than 10% of energy accounted by other sources like hydro, renewable, and nuclear. Oil and gas contributes 40% in India's total energy mix. Coal accounts for 53% to the commercial energy sources in the country, which is higher compared to the world average. India has only 0.5% of world's proven oil reserves, and it houses more than 15% of the world population. Government of India is in the process of introducing open acreage licensing policy for oil and gas acreages. And a new exploration licensing policy, bidding will be available round the year instead of cyclic bidding rounds launched to generate interest of investors. India is highly dependent on imports for both crude oil as well as natural gas, and with increasing demand and reducing domestic supplies, the dependency is expected to increase further. Of the total power generated in the country, 70% comes from coal-based thermal power stations. India's coal imports have more than doubled over the last 5 years. Due to limited supporting infrastructure, there is a pressing need for a well-integrated infrastructure for coal supply chain, which includes rail, roads, importing ports, and washeries. There has been a recent thirst in the unconventional energy portfolio. Unconventional natural gas production is a game-changing event, especially in the light of growing concerns about climatic changes. With the increasing emphasis on these resources, government had already commenced bidding rounds for coal bed methane license, while bidding framework for shale gas and underground coal gasification are being formulated. Learning from the success in US and Canada, India is considering shale gas as an option to address its energy security concerns. DGH is working on shale gas policy to create favorable environment for investments. Government of India has signed Memorandum of Understanding with US Geological Survey, Department of State, to obtain technical assistance for characterization and assessment of shale gas resources, to carry out technical studies and to train the manpower. With the advancement in the horizontal drilling technology, hydraulic fracturing technology, there is a surge in the natural gas prices in the past few years. Nuclear energy could play a critical role in addressing India's energy challenges, meeting massive energy demand potentials, mitigating carbon emissions, and enhancing energy security through the reduction of dependence on foreign energy sources. Currently, India remains the only country which is developing the potential of thorium fuel cycles. The prime drive has been the fact that India has large deposits of thorium and very negligible uranium deposits. Renewable energy is becoming an increasingly important part of India's energy mix and has immense potential which needs to be explored. Solar energy is another source which is gaining prominence in the energy mix. Besides National Solar Mission, at the national level, there are various state-level policies which are pushing for wider adoption of solar energy as an active source in the energy mix. I am told that this is the only Congress in the world to address petroleum, coal, gas industry, which will focus on synergy for energy. The areas that need to be dealt with the players, pricing, production, technology, finance, and infrastructure. I would like to congratulate the recipients of Energy and Environment Foundation Global Excellency Award 2013. With these words, I declare the Congress open and wish all the participants good luck and look forward to fruitful discussions, a way forward in terms of concrete recommendations to the government. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inaugural address and sharing with us the progressive policies which the Government of India is taking towards optimizing value both from the conventional and the unconventional resources of energy, and also tapping the unconventional hydrocarbons and the renewable resources of energy. And we would like to express our gratitude to the Honorable Minister and to our guest speakers. May I request Mr. Anil Razdan to kindly present the memento, expressing thanks and regards on behalf of everyone and on behalf of the Energy and Environment Foundation. May I also request Mr. Razdan to kindly present the memento, thanking Mr. Nobu Tanaka. And thanking Mr. Shipu Gadima. Thank you, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this inaugural session, would like to invite Dr. Anil Garg, the President of World Petrocoal Congress, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Vimy. Honorable Minister, Madam Panaka Lakshmi, Minister of State for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, Mr. Anil Razdan, Chairman, Energy and Environment Foundation, and Chairman, Steering Committee, World Petrocoal Congress. Mr. Nobu Tanaka is a former ED, IEA, Mr. Kakadima, President and CEO of Lanthocol, ladies and gentlemen, and especially award winners. I have to thank, this is my pleasant duty to thank Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Ministry of Power, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Ministry of Coal for their support. We also thank Honorable Minister for coming here and sparing time, and his staff, especially Private Secretary to him, Dr. Santosh, and all the students, participants, and organization, they have supported us. Linthocol has supported in the gold sponsorship. Coal India, Oil India, Tata Steel, GAIL has sponsored as a silver. Then Indian Oil Corporation, EIL, Petronet LNG, ASCB, Jindal Steel and Power, GE and Jeremy, they have supported as associate sponsors, and knowledge partner especially, they have students, they have worked day and night and prepared this background paper from EMPI. Mr. Gurnam Saran, I have especially salute you. We have to thank our media partners and all associates who have rendered full support. And I want to say only one thing, that synergy in energy will come with the cooperation of each sector of energy. And now time has come. Again and again, time has come for action. Lot of things has said, but we have to take action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And before we finally conclude, if we have the permission of the Honorable Minister, we would like to invite all the winners here for a group photograph. Would like to request and invite Mr. R.S. Butola, Mr. Srivastav, Mr. Alok Purty. We have the representatives of Mr. S. Narsingh Rao, Mr. Nirurkar, and Mr. Tripathi also. If you can kindly get your trophies also along with you. Thank you, and we thank once again the Honourable Minister for joining us in this inaugural session. Thank you also to all our guest speakers of the session. Once again, congratulating the winners of the E2 Foundation Global Excellence Awards for the year 2013. And thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us in this inaugural session. We are going to be resuming with our discussions and deliberations with the first session, that's the CEO's Forum, at 12 o'clock. Right now, we also have the display of the poster papers. So as you join us for tea and coffee outside, you're requested also to kindly have a look at the poster papers which are being displayed outside. Please join us for tea and coffee, and after half an hour, we resume with the session, the CEO's Forum. The tea, ladies and gentlemen, is on the second floor. It's a half an hour tea and coffee break, the second floor, and then you're requested to kindly join us here at 12 o'clock, a little before 12, so that we can start the CEO's Forum on time. Thank you.